المدرسة صوت على قلبي عسل يلا يا باص المدرسة خدنا على درب الأمل زمر باص المدرسة صوت على قلبي عسل يلا يا باص المدرسة خدنا على درب الأمل.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Shakira Akabo and you are watching Schools Out. In today's episode, we are looking at food and nutrition in our children, particularly the school tuck shop. With me this morning is Dr. Kershalan Naidu from the Waterfall City Hospital in Johannesburg. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Tell us a little bit about the relationship between food and health in children.
So the major thing with respect to food and health is weight gain and obesity. And the problem with obesity is that it leads to diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, and there are various associations and associated complications with diabetes. For example, stroke, heart attacks, kidney failure, gangrene, and these all manifest later on in adulthood. There's other associations with behavioral disorders such as depression, anxiety. There's various studies that are showing that. Reduced immunity and recurrent infections has been associated as well as poor memory and academic performance as well, has also been associated with poor diet. So multifactorial effects.
So obviously food is very important.
Absolutely.
And what we give our children is so important.
It's a critical time of their lives, development as well. So what they eat now has far-reaching consequences.
Okay. In your experience, what are the contributing factors regarding obesity in school children?
So there's various factors, especially we'll start first with the food. Now you get a lot more foods that have a higher glycemic index. Now glycemic index means what food does to your blood sugar. So if it's got a high glycemic index, it pushes up your sugar very quickly. Sugar sweetened beverages are a problem, and that's worldwide. Increased portion sizes plays a role as well. Now various environmental factors that are very important with respect to that contribute to obesity as well, which parents need to be aware of. Reduced physical activity, lack of playgrounds, reduced sleep is very important as well. And television is been shown to be one of the most important environmental factors that are promoting and leading to obesity as well. Now, in addition to that, there's various medical causes, especially endocrine causes. It accounts for less than 1% of cases, but one needs to be aware of those things. So endocrine disorders affect the hormones, so things like thyroid, cortisol excess, growth hormone problems, calcium problems. All of those can be contributing factors to obesity itself. In addition to that, genetic factors play a role, so it depends on the parents as well. And there's a newer evolving concept called metabolic programming, which is quite interesting as well. So what happens is it's the effect of the environment and nutritional factors on the offspring as well. So in other words, if a parent of the mother is overweight during pregnancy as well as has gestational diabetes or diabetes in pregnancy, there's a much higher risk that the child will have obesity and diabetes. And it even has even further reaching consequences in that the offspring of the child may be affected as well. So that's a concept called metabolic programming, and it emphasizes the importance of nutrition, especially during critical developmental periods.
Like pregnancy and
Yes.
early stages of the child. Now, how common are these issues of obesity and childhood diabetes among South African school children?
Okay, so overall in South Africa, about 40 to 50% of adults are overweight. 1 in 4 children are overweight. Now, the number of overweight children has doubled in the last 6 years in South Africa, whereas those statistics took 13 years in the US. Now, Africa as a whole has got one of the highest rising statistics with respect to obesity. And South Africa, as well as Egypt, is actually driving these statistics. And if you look at the diabetes incidence, it actually parallels the obesity incidence as well. So as obesity goes up, diabetes goes up as well. Now, diabetes in South Africa is rated the second leading cause of death in South Africa. So it's overtaken, well, it's going to overtake the communicable diseases as a non-communicable disease.
That's really scary.
It's very scary. And in fact, overweight children, there's a 70% chance of an overweight child going into to be an overweight adult. And that has many implications financially as well, because an overweight adult tends to have an effect on the economy because of absenteeism, lack of productivity, etc. So all of it starts off with food and the diet in childhood.
In childhood. So obviously our schools need to be aware of this, and we as parents need to be aware of it. What can parents do? Because obviously what happens at school either comes from the home or is carried through to the home. So in terms of that link between school and home, what can parents be more aware of?
Okay, so very important point. Look, healthy eating should be routine. So healthy eating habits should be instilled at home and emphasized at school as well. So kids need to know what's healthy and what's not healthy. You need to tell them what healthy eating looks like. So for example, on the plate, half of the plate should be fruit and veggies. The other half should be lean protein and legumes, nuts and seeds. That's a healthy, sort of balance. To limit sweets, so kids need to understand that sweets are not good for them, even though it tastes great. Rather offer them fruit or healthier, maybe honey as well as options. Now to limit those sugar cravings, one can offer treats maybe once or twice a week. So not to deny them completely, all right? Because I mean, they are kids after all. Now what's important as well is to stay in touch with their hunger cues. Now we were born to know, eat when you're hungry and don't eat when you're full. Now, it's very easy, or it's very difficult in this day and age because you've got multiple snacks and you've got large portion sizes, and kids are forced to eat. So how many parents have said, eat one more bite or finish the plate of food? So that's we overcoming that hunger cues, and which is also contributing to obesity as well. The other advice I would give is avoid calling food good or bad. Kids need to understand that all food has a place in their diet. Some foods are safe to use and good. You can eat as much as you want. Whereas the least nutritious, like say for example French fries, they need to understand that it's not as good as the other food, and they should limit the quantities as well. Portion size is important. So as a rough guideline, the portion, or kids can be easily taught, the amount of rice or pasta should be the size of their fist. The amount of protein that they need should be the size of their palm. And the amount of fat or fatty foods, butter, mayonnaise, etc., can be the size of the thumb. Now, also in our environment, in our country, socioeconomic status plays a big role. Now, the major obesity trends are in the low to middle income brackets, where there's a rising obesity. And look, healthy eating is expensive, so that makes it a little bit more challenging in our setting. But there's various programs such as the feed program, I think, which the next speaker is going to touch on with respect to that.
Yes. So you mentioned earlier about listening to our children when they say they're full. What are the consequences of working? Because often food then becomes a bit of a power struggle in our homes. What are easier ways to avoid that and still encourage palatable options in the home?
So one option is actually to make it fun. So when preparing the meals or going out to shopping at the grocers, etc., kids can join in and they can understand what happens. So they need to know the names of the fruits, what's healthy, what's not healthy. So if you make it a fun way to do it, kids find it more attractive and palatable as well. And that's what I try and do it with my family at home as well. You try and instill these habits, because these habits they're going to carry forward into adulthood and thereafter. So if you still in these habits now, it'll have far-reaching consequences.
Definitely. So involving them in the cooking process and choosing the foods that they want to eat, making sure that they're making healthy choices.
Absolutely.
Lastly, Doctor, can you tell us a little bit about how schools can perhaps change or try and incorporate these values and these kind of things in their programs and in their offerings?
Okay, so I would think schools need to emphasize and reinforce healthy eating that in the basis comes from home. What's being stocked in school tuck shops is, I think, is a critical portion, because I mean, you may be trying to do healthy eating at home, yet you get to school and then they've got your cool drinks, you've got unhealthy sweets and chocolates, all of those things. So I think if you can limit or just control the content that tuck shops sell, then that will be an important way that we can do that. Get dietitians and nutritionists involved in developing healthy school eating programs and dietary programs will help as well. But I think the major thing is limiting the sugar sweetened beverages, and the foods with high glycemic index will go a long way.
Thank you so much for that advice, Dr. Naidu, and much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and that was Dr. Kershlin Naidu from the Endocrinology Institute at the Waterfall City Hospital in Johannesburg. Welcome back to Schools Out. Now we're going to go visit a school that has no tuck shop. Yes, you heard right. They have instead a kitchen. Today we're going to speak to the chef of the kitchen at Village Montessori School in Pretoria. Welcome, Enid, to our show.
Welcome, Shakira, to our beautiful Village Montessori School and to my kitchen.
Thank you. So you have a beautiful array of brightly colored food here. Would you like to tell us why you chose all these colors?
Shakira, I chose this food because it's nice and healthy. You know, sometimes our children go home at night and they don't get a balanced diet because the parents are so busy with their own things at work.
Absolutely.
So we at Village Montessori want to give them a nutritious and healthy and tasty home-cooked meal.
So you have a wonderful array of dishes, as I can see. How do the children respond to this instead of junk food? Do they enjoy the meals?
The kids enjoy all the meals. You must see the spaghetti and mince like we have here. It's the best meal. Every second Monday we do a spaghetti and mince and they just enjoy it. We have like a gluten-free pasta for the children that's gluten-free. So we have some, for the kids that is vegetarian, we have a nice mushroom nugget so that they can all enjoy the same meal that the others get.
Yes, that's wonderful. So you managed to cater for all the different dietary requirements like the vegetarian, the halal and everything else.
Yes, I do. I also try to make, if the child is vegetarian or gluten-free, I make the plate look the same. So that they don't feel different from the other children, because if the child sees that you have something different, then they won't eat their food.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
we encourage that the kids must eat. And remember, when the kids are together, they all eat their vegetables.
Yes, so that's where the peer pressure works in a positive way.
Most definitely, yes.
Yes, and then I notice that you have when you give out the food to the children, you make sure that they're drinking and they're eating fruit. I notice you have a lot of fruit in your kitchen.
Yes, we do. After the meal, they have a dessert. We call it a dessert. They have an apple or they have an orange or whatever fruit is available for their day.
Enid, are there any last words you have for us?
I just like to say, guys, a healthy body is a healthy soul and a healthy mind.
Thank you very much, Enid. And here we have it, why the school has a full, complete kitchen instead of a tuck shop model. We're now chatting to Julia Dunkley, who is the head of department of the preschool phase at Village Montessori in Pretoria. Welcome to the show, Julia.
Thank you, Shakira.
Your school has a very strict food policy. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, Shakira, we have a very strict food policy here at Village Montessori School. Our policy states that we do not allow any artificial colorants or flavorants in anything that is sent to school with the children in their lunch boxes or birthday parties, party packs or anything like that. We encourage that everything is made from natural ingredients and no colorants whatsoever. So for instance, with birthday celebrations here at school, we encourage the parents to bring along cupcakes, either chocolate or vanilla, and we strongly disallow any artificial flavors, you know, the bright food coloring icing and things like that, purely because it's just not healthy for little bodies.
Absolutely. Julia, I also noticed that at your school, the preschoolers sit and have a meal at the kitchen and they sit down. What is the thinking or the reasoning behind this?
That is a very important life skill lesson that we give to our children here at the school. So each child has their own placemat with their name on it, and when they go and dish up their food with Enid in the kitchen, they then go and find their placemat and they take a seat. This encourages like a family unit with the children. So it also creates good table manners and table etiquette, as well as giving the children a cultural a cultural experience with the rest of their fellow learners, and also encouraging them to be aware of their friends' food allergies or food intolerances. So it is a very big thing, and it's a very social aspect, and the children love it, and we encourage that they all stay seated until everybody's finished, and then everybody leave the table at the same time.
That's really lovely. And if you had to give us tips as parents, what would you give us in terms of monitoring the food that our children are eating?
Every child loves to have a special treat, but my advice would be that you can have those special treats, but try and make things with your children at home. Rather do baking at home with them and steer away from the artificially processed sweets and chocolates and things that we get in the everyday food markets.
Thank you so much. And there we have it from the HOD of Village Montessori's preschool fairs, Julia Dunkley. We are talking to dietitian Fatima Bucks at the Coronation Training Center about nutrition at schools. Welcome to the show, Fatima. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Tell us, Fatima, as a dietitian, as somebody who's involved in nutrition all the time, what are schools typically offering as food for the children?
Okay, so there is a move towards more healthy eating, but traditionally what school tuck shops offer is the usual cold drinks or juice or chips. And having done nutrition education for many years, I've been involved in trying to make tuck shops healthy. And so definitely there is a move among schools all over the country to move from selling junk food to actually more nutritious food. I think one of the reasons being we are seeing an increasing number of children who have diabetes, and what they eat at school, if you look at it, they spend a major part of their day at school, and if they're going to eat unhealthily, firstly they're not going to concentrate. So it's important the food that you actually put into your bodies, and young children need to eat healthy food.
Yes, of course. So tell us now, I'm very happy to hear about the shift towards healthy eating. I think there are many parents out there who are just as happy about that. Tell us about the ways in which schools can offer palatable yet healthy foods.
Okay, so firstly, an option would be if the school has a kitchen, they can cook their own meal. At the school that my children are at, there is a kitchen, so they offered a hot meal a day. So I feel that is so important. Firstly, they get full, and then to also ensure that the constituent of the meal is important. So they must get a bit of protein, some carbohydrate, and that to ensure that they're getting enough veggies. So there is a move towards healthy eating. For example, there is the recommendation that we should be eating 9 servings of fruit and vegetable a day. So I would say 2 to 3 fruit and 4 to 5 servings of veggies. But what I find, not only in the people I see, but just generally, people just battle to eat 5 servings a day. So I think if a school tuck shop can offer fresh fruit, because although there was a stage that we went through where they said, okay, we're not going to have cold drinks, so let's have fruit juices. Now fruit juices contain a lot of their own sugar. So if I had to squeeze 1 orange, I'm not going to get 1 glass of orange juice. So it's quite concentrated. And I would normally say a fruit, for example, makes a good in-between meal. So I think it's firstly important for parents to pack healthy lunches, but if the school can offer fruit at their tuck shop instead of sweets, chocolates, Water is very good. I know there's also sometimes a move towards flavored water, but a lot of them have sugar added. So I would always say rather you can add your own lemon or flavoring with mint, for example, and you can have, because that's the best quench of thirst. I mean, no matter what a child has, when they're thirsty after playing sport or doing something, they need water. And I think that's also a separate topic on its own, because if you see now we're going into summer, children need to be hydrated. If they don't have enough water, they get tired, they get restless. So that's going to also affect the concentration in the classroom. And then what we find as well is what are they having for breakfast? So because we live here, we're living in a city in Johannesburg, there's traffic, so lots of parents are dropping their children off early. You're either leaving home at 6 or 6:30. So if you're leaving home at that time, what time is the child eating? Is the child eating, and then what are they having? So if they're eating at 5:30 or 5:45, their break at school is only at 10 o'clock. So that means for 4 hours they're going without food. And then are they deciding to play or eat when they have their break? So I think that's so important, that what they pack in the lunch boxes and also what the school has to offer. And I feel like a cooked meal where there are vegetables or a salad. If there's salads, especially now in the summer months, we're more inclined to having something cool rather than hot to eat. That's a very good healthy option. I suppose if there's no tuck shop at the school, then what the child packs in is vitally important. And if there's no kitchen, then definitely, but parents do rally. They do want their child to be healthy. Yes. So there is definitely that move. I definitely think soft drinks, sweetened beverages, sweets and chocolates are definitely something that shouldn't be on offer, and where that's the first thing the child sees and wants to buy.
Absolutely. So you have been involved in helping a school, in particular this school, the Coronation Training Center, set up a wonderful vegetable garden and where they actually cook from and eat. Tell us more about this project.
Okay, so I belong to an organization called FEED, which is an acronym for Feed, Educate, Empower and Develop. And we've been feeding, we provide a meal at Coronation once a week, and we've been doing that for over 10 years. And then this patch of garden that you see here was available. So we decided to get involved in terms of funding and in collaboration with the school, so providing. And the fact that they do have a kitchen, and where they feed the children a breakfast and a lunch, because this is a very poor community as well. So there's no guarantee that a child coming to the school has actually eaten a meal. And so the school actually ensures that they do get at least one healthy meal, so that when they go home they're nourished. So firstly they can concentrate, because the children at this school, they may be physically or mentally challenged. And so we also got them involved. So they're involved in gardening. They have a healthy kitchen where they're eating from the garden itself. And so it's actually quite amazing what these children are capable of and what they've done.
That's really good, mashallah.
Thank you.
Here is Fatima telling us about the nutrition program that they have at the Coronation Training Center in Johannesburg. Thank you, Fatima, for your time.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And there you have it. We have now looked at the school tuck shop and healthy ways in which we can present food to our children. Sustainable ways in which our schools can actually grow their own vegetables and feed our children at schools. Join us again next week for a new episode of Schools Out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
زمر باص المدرسة صوت على قلبي عسل يلا يا باص المدرسة خدنا على درب الأمل زمر باص المدرسة صوت على قلبي